Entwistle gained very little fame during her time as being an actress in Hollywood. However, it was after her death that she became a legend of Hollywood, known for her being the ghost of the Hollywood sign. On the night of September the 18th, 1932, actress Peg Entwistle made her way up the steep slope of Mount Lee to the site of the famous Hollywood sign, which back then it was spelt out Hollywood Land. She took off her coat and she neatly folded it. She put down her purse and she climbed up the ladder that was on the back of the 50-foot high letter H. She stood on top of it for a moment, looking over the lights of the glamorous city below, just taking everything in, and then she leaped to her death. Peg most likely died instantly, but her body was found the next day by a hiker. But that's not the last that Peg has been seen. Not alive anyway. Her ghost has been sighted many times in the vicinity of the famous Hollywood landmark, still wandering slowly around. Peg was born in 1908 in the UK. She was born by the name of Millicent Lillian Entwistle, but soon came to the nickname Peg. Peg saw more, way more, than her share of tragedies. She was just a little child when her mother died unexpectedly. Soon after that, her and her father moved to New York City, and then in just a few short years, her father was struck down and killed by a hit-and-run car on Park Avenue. In her late teens, Peg began to pursue an acting career on the stage and was talented enough to win roles with the Boston Repertory Company and on the Broadway in the renowned Theater Guild productions. Betty Davis actually said that Peg was the one that inspired her to become an actress. At the age of 19, Peg married an actor named Robert Keith, and then later she discovered that he had been previously married and he had a 6-year-old son. So Robert and Peg soon divorced. Peg began doing stage work and productions, and they featured stars such as Dorothy Gish and Lorette Taylor, but was already battling the demons of depression. Nevertheless, she set her sights on Hollywood and she moved to Los Angeles in 1932 in hopes of landing roles in motion pictures. In the beginning, she did find work in Los Angeles, but it was mostly just on the stage and in theater. But then, it seemed like that her destiny actually came true, and it changed her life when she was signed to appear in the film 13 Women. This film starred Irene Dunne. When previews of the film received poor reviews, the studio re-edited it, and much of Peg's part was left out on the editing floor. The company subsequently dropped the options on her contract, so this brought her to the night of September the 18th, 1932. After she had been heavily drinking and her depression was fueled and she was deeply despaired, the 24-year-old Peg Entwistle told her uncle, with whom she was living with, that she was going to meet some friends at a local drugstore. Instead, she made her way to the Hollywood sign to meet her fate. And that brings us to Peg's legend of today. It is said that sometimes sad lives that end in tragic deaths, they will later just manifest as spirits or ghosts, if you will, that will actually haunt the locations where they once enjoyed their life or where they died. But in Peg's case, her spirit apparently still roams around the hills of the sign that symbolized her dream. There are some documented sightings of Peg. One of them is over the years park rangers have reported seeing a pretty blonde woman dressed in 1930s clothing wandering around the park's paths. She is described as looking sad, and when she is approached, she just vanishes. Another one was a couple was walking their dog along the Beechwood Canyon trail of the park, and their dog began to behave very strangely. It was whimpering and just cowering behind them. Suddenly, a woman in an out-of-date clothing appeared on the trail right in front of them, appearing dazed or confused, and then she just vanished, just right before their eyes. Another park ranger claims to have seen Peg's ghost on several occasions. He says she most often appears late at night when the conditions are foggy, and she always smells like gardenias, and that was said to be Peg's very favorite fragrance. And then another is a lady named Divine Morgan, and she actually lives on Beechwood Canyon. She said she can verify the gardenia connection. One afternoon, she said that she was taking an exercise hike up the trail near the sign, and as she made her way around one of the switchbacks, she noticed the figure of a woman on another part of the trail, and she said she looked very strange to me. She had a very etheric quality about her, and instead of walking, she seemed to almost glide. She wasn't floating, and she didn't look like she was a ghost, but there was something very, very strange about her. Divine attempted to catch up with this woman, but she had just vanished, and the only thing left was the overwhelming scent of the gardenias. Another very strange thing about this is it wasn't long after Peg's death that a letter arrived at her house from the Hollywood Playhouse, was offering her a part in a play, and her role would have been a woman who commits suicide. There was actually a suicide note found inside Peg's purse, and the note was very simple, only saying, quote, "I am afraid. I am a coward. I am sorry for everything. If I had done this a long time ago, it would have saved a lot of pain. Signed, P.E." So have you ever been to the Hollywood sign? I have. I have been by the Hollywood sign. And at the time I went by it, I did not know of this story. It's a very heartbreaking story, to say the very least. Thank you all so much for listening. And until next time, this is Unjustified.